Are you someone who gets crippled by intense doubt at times? And perhaps at those really critical moments when something big is about to happen, an opportunity is sitting right there, or you just had a big brainstorm and suddenly you feel like you saw the light, and then a day or two later that intense doubt hits. I've been there many times, and no matter the number of successes one has, like that can return until we actually shift from the inside out. Once we relax the nervous system and allow this growth. Now, I don't know whether it can totally go away, and I don't even know if that's necessary, because sometimes, having those butterflies, those questions, is what has us on this edge of aliveness, right? Instead of being too passive in a situation. But what do we do? Like, what does it mean, that doubt? Because it's easy to think, you know what, maybe this was a mistake. Maybe I should go back. Maybe I should let go. Maybe it's time to stop. And it's not one answer that can tell you what is exactly the right thing to do. But what I can tell you is that your experience of doubt can actually be a very natural step in a cycle that's very common. And what this can look like is, you're focused on your vision, your calling. Perhaps, there's a certain aim that you've been looking at manifesting, if you use that language. There's a goal you want to realize. And, one day, like, there's clarity. It's like the heavens have opened and it's all clear, and you can do it. You have the clarity, you have the confidence, you have the skill. And you feel like you're just on top of that world, right? And then, as I said, maybe the next day, maybe a couple of days, something small often shows up, and it takes you off that center. And instead, this intense doubt shows up. Perhaps past failures, past challenges, maybe something small that somebody said that just affects you in a way that it has, like, the ego is almost like it's going to crumble because of it, because there's that fear that I think is hidden behind every ego, and that is, somehow I can't do it because I'm not enough. And so our progress, that the heavens opening and that light and that clarity coming, is actually what triggers that doubt. Because what's happening is bringing up from below, like, all that stuff that might have been suppressed before, right? Your old feelings, old situations that were never fully dealt with, or didn't have a resolution. They're brought up. And the mistake here can be to look at that and see that as a reason to go back, to stop, to forget our dream, to say that, this vision is just far too big and I'm not ready. Now, there may be practical things that need to be done, and that may be some part of the gift that the doubt gives you, like maybe you do need to strengthen something. But more importantly, I want you to see it as that old energy coming up to be looked at, and this time to be accepted, and so it can be released. Because if we go through that, we get to we experience that, where the psyche wants to process that tension, and it can show up in different ways. It can be an emotional reaction. It can be dreams that we have of stress, not being able to go to sleep, anxiety, right? So the psyche is processing that doubt that's come up, whatever information has come up from the past usually. And if we are able to stay with ourselves through that, let that move through us, feel it, let it exist, Don't fight it. Don't deny it. Don't try to push it or force it away. Don't try to affirm it away. Just actually look at it. It's like I don't know. Say you were throwing out the trash and somehow, the bag ripped and it all fell, and you just looked at it, right? Which would be a natural reaction before you scooped it up and found a way to throw it out again. You look at the feelings. You look at the tension. You breathe through it. Now, you don't have to do any fancy breathing techniques, We as humans are already designed that our body will know how to breathe. So unless, again, you're pushing something or trying to suppress that, just breathing naturally, taking your time, slowing down is going to help you move through that period. Not making any major decisions if doubt strikes. Not, making claims or feeling like you actually have to do something about it, right? Not going and doing something foolish in the moment because you're trying to, again, battle what you're feeling and trying to prove otherwise. So if we allow that phase, sometimes it's just an hour, sometimes it's several hours, sometimes it may be a day or two. If we allow that phase to happen and then instead take care of ourselves, not make any big decisions, perhaps do something more routine, more mundane that allows us to calm down, that allows us to return to coherence, regulating the nervous system, that can then allow us to get to the next stage where the integration is able to complete, the integration of old stuff and this new vision that's forming. It's allowed to happen. And then you get into a new level of certainty. It's not the old level. You actually move it up. It goes up. It goes higher because of the integration. All right? So I had this recently, and I don't even know why it got triggered, honestly. I don't remember if there was anything said or that happened. Like, I just remember I was like outside, I was walking down the street, and suddenly this kind of doubt and negative thought pattern showed up. And, in that moment, it was like, again, like this, the loop of thoughts. And it wasn't based on anything that actually had happened that day, unless it was so minor that I don't even remember it. But it was so intense. And it surprised me because I hadn't experienced that for a while. And I had been having certain clarity that I was excited about. And I can acknowledge that there was probably some impatience that I still held about, like, that worry about, okay, like I feel like I'm closer, and yet that makes me wish it would happen sooner, because on some deeper level there was still fear. There was still fear that it's not going to happen or something's going to get in the way. And so I felt it, and that night I allowed it to be. I went on, I had a meeting with some people, and it went well, and that probably helped just kind of shift the energy a bit by bringing my focus and energy to something I could do in the moment. And I even voiced a little bit of my frustration, so that, because it was just sitting there on the surface. And after that night, when I went to bed, I ended up having this dream, and it ended up being a really potent dream. Something, one of those dreams that feels like it's surreal, like it's so real that like a hyper reality, like not like a fuzzy thing, not a dream of confusion where you don't know exactly what's going on, but like I felt my own self being so present and stepping into a role, choosing that role, stepping into it with full clarity, full acceptance, no hesitation, even though I didn't know exactly what was going to happen. it was quite incredible, to the point that I was like, when I woke up, I was like, I better write this down, because I'm going to, I don't want to forget this feeling. It was being in that state. And what had happened was I had felt the feelings. I had, like, the thoughts, I looked at the thoughts, I saw them. I went through my day. I didn't make any major decisions. I let my nighttime integrate, and it brought me a vision, a visceral vision, right? Something I could actually feel. And it stayed with me during the day because I had written it down, and I had, reflected on it more deeply. And it just made everything suddenly like a new crystallization of certainty came through that was amazing. And I couldn't have gotten there if I hadn't gone through the doubt, right? If I had fought it, if I had done anything with it, if I thought I had to fix it and change it, So going from, we have the doubt, allows us to move into integration, which then allows us to make new decisions. And the sooner you can act on a new decision with that new energy, with that new certainty present, and it can be really tiny. It doesn't have to be big, but you're doing it in that new state. The faster things will begin to materialize, because you're not being held back by old energies. You're not being held back by old fears. And the bigger vision we have, the more our dreams challenge our current state, or the way we've been taught to believe, the way we've been conditioned, the bigger or more different our dreams are, the more this is going to happen, typically, right? The system likes to stay the same. It thinks that staying the same equals safety. So it's a survival mechanism that's getting triggered here. And it will do what it has to do so that you don't change. But when you become wise to that, when you're a little more aware, then when you have these moments, and they can be crippling even, right? Anxiety can be crippling for some people. Some people go more into the sense of depression, or, negative thinking, negative self-talk. And it can be really strong. And so to be able to move through that storm by staying like in the center of you, breathing through it, letting it exist without denying it, the more likely you're going to actually get to where you want to be. Because then it's almost like space has been cleared for a new level of embodiment to happen. And embodiment is so much more powerful than acting as if, than pretending, than affirming, than anything. It's far more fun, because that means you actually are in that state of what your vision or dream represents. So when we have this, as I said, this compelling dream or a calling and a bigger vision that's beyond what our own programming and conditioning has allowed us to be, there can be two forces that alternate. One of them is expansion, naturally, where we're inspired, where the vision is coming, we're getting downloads and ideas, and we're creative, and we just feel like we're flourishing in who we are, and free to be ourselves, and free to create and express. But that does not exist in a vacuum, and it's not only that state. It's going to also be, beside it, it's going to be another state, and that is consolidation, that is required for that moving, that evolving into creating whatever it is that we're creating. moving into a new state of being. And that can look like doubt. It can look like we're being tested and challenged. We think we're ready to move ahead like 5 steps, and suddenly something happens that can send us back a couple of steps. Or it can be simple questioning inside of us. Am I ready? Am I really good enough for this? Am I capable? Is my environment, my company, my community, my group, whatever, are they going to be on board? Right? All of that stuff that needs to be cleared. And what it's doing, it has a function, you see. It has a function, and that function is, besides being cleared, being seen, accepted, and then released, it is that it strengthens your resolve. And often the bigger the dream, the more challenges there seem, because it's strengthening you. It's not a test as in, like poking you just for the sake of it. It's a test as in, do I have what it takes? Or do I need to strengthen this? Do I need to tune this further so that I can move to the next level, right? Think about like weight training, for example, right? If you start with just lifting 10 pounds or something, or kilograms, and then you suddenly want to do 100, like that doesn't happen. But your vision may already be at the 100. You may see yourself, you may imagine yourself, right? But to make the leaps, there is usually something that needs to take place for that leap to happen in a way that is going to be safe, in terms of you can hold it, you can be there, you're not going to jump forward for 5 seconds and then fall back. So doubt can appear when the psyche is building a structural strength within you, for that vision, that dream, that calling to take place. And that's when you go through it, that's when clarity, a new level of clarity, can suddenly return. And this time, and this is the gifted part, this time it returns in an embodied way, where you're not just saying and speaking things, where if you have a brand, a company, you're not just showcasing it, it has a beautiful visual presence, but, behind it, you're still in that, can I hold this? Is this me? Am I enough? All of those questions. Instead, you show up and you are it. That's what embodiment is. You are it. You feel it deep in your bones. You feel it in your cells. You don't have to pretend. You don't have to shout it from the rooftops. You just are. And people feel it. People sense it. And they may often start approaching you. And that's actually one of the signals that something has shifted. It can be something really, really simple. In the last video, I talked about someone I happened to meet who became the top salesperson in her company. And she embodied a certain energy which allowed her to be that. And even her meeting me I was embodied in a certain energy that she picked up on that day, which, had that conversation flow. Complete strangers, And so doubt isn't your enemy. It's just showing you something that needs to be seen, that needs to be accepted, and that you can let it go. Don't make any major decisions. Listen. Take care of yourself. What good can I do? What can I watch that maybe has me feel better as well? I don't think it's not about sulking in it when I say, accept it. You can breathe with it. You can breathe through those feelings. It's like something is rising, and let that go until you return to stillness, return to quiet. And when you are in that space, and yes, going to some inspiration to, again, anchor in what you actually believe, what you actually know is possible and available, doing things that are going to support that. All of that is going to take that doubt, alchemize it, and turn it into your power going forward.